it going, freaks? Alright. Got a haircut today. You can't tell because I got a hat on, but yeah, it was time. I got an MRI on my left wrist, and they said it looks like just, I didn't see any broken bones, or maybe it's like arthritis or something. I don't know. I think it's a ligament that's loose, is what I think. They can't see that on an MRI, though. They said they're intact, but you can feel it wiggle outside sometimes, and it's like, it hurts like hell. But feels good today. Yeah, you guys remember the yogurt shop murder? We covered that a long time ago, but the individual. Let's see. Oh yeah, I got a different folder open here. Hold on. Yeah, Robert Eugene Brashers. They figured out that he did it like a year ago or a year and a half or whenever that was. It was pretty recent. And he also did a whole bunch of other crimes. So I thought it'd be kind of cool just to go back through time. And it's interesting because you see it in the papers, but nobody knew who this guy was. It wasn't until I think like 2005 or so, or 6, when they put his DNA into like CODIS, and there's other DNA profiles in there for other crimes, and well, actually, it was not. That's not how it worked. It was there was 3 cases that had DNA matches, but they didn't know who the person was yet, and then eventually his DNA matched. And then they were able to find these other cases out there. So, it's kind of like old school, newspapers.com all the way back through time. Are you guys interested in that? Of course, a lot of other people aren't. That's why there's 64 people here again. Right. So, if you guys could, while we're doing the show, if you could help support the channel without having me have to ask 1,400 times so I can just keep doing the show, that would be awesome, because we're getting really close to the end of the month and we got so far behind. But if we reach the goal and then some 3 nights in a row, and then have a really great donation night, we could almost kind of have like a bad month instead of a horrific month. You know what I mean? So that'd be good. So let's see if you guys can help support the channel during this live stream, even though hardly anybody will watch, because it didn't say Nancy Guthrie or one of the other cases that everybody talks about. All right, here we go. Yeah, so this is we're back in 1958, March 15th. Mr. and Mrs. D.W. Brashers of 635. Maybe we could take a look at his home from all the way back then. 635 Homestead Avenue. And it looks like they live in, I think that was the Hampton. That's right there. All right, so we can take a look at his little house he grew up in. Yeah, I thought he was more like a spree killer, but no, I think he's just, this guy's a serial killer. That's it. He's just like some of the other ones. No, so that's not what it looked like. That's it right there, though. I mean, isn't that weird, you guys? Look at that. So here's where he lived back in 1958, and that's the house. You can see by the design, but then you go down the street view, and it's gone. That's not it right there. That was this house. That house was there at that time. And you probably go back to 1994. Those 2 are there. But this one is not there anymore. Hey, thanks for the butterflies, Gracie. All right, so there we go. Let me put a pin in that. Hold on. Pretty soon that won't be there anymore. You know what you could do is, if you want to see, just to get a better feel for it, is go to Street View here. That's right there. Okay, there it is. Right here. I think it's right there. So if we go down to Street View, right on top of it, that's where it's supposed to be. But if we go back to the see more options, go to 2007, there it is. So that was the house, likely. I mean, I don't know. You know, it's like, it's just a crappy, and there it is, and looks like it was updated a little bit. And by 2012, 2015, it's still there. That's when it's for sale. Then somebody probably bought the land and then just let it go, and then built this here instead for the income. All right, so there you go. That's where he lived back then. Hey, thank you, Jessica Schubach. Hey, look at that. We got a Marty's Bar and Grill challenge right out of the gate, you guys. So if you guys can do 5 gifted memberships, he'll donate $50 in coffee. Hey, what do you think of that? All right. So that's it. That's all. I mean, this is just right here. It's just a birth announcement for a killer. It's kind of interesting just seeing that sometimes. You know, just like, you know, he's just a normal, you know, born like any other kid. Birth of a son in Riverside Hospital Thursday, March 13th, 1958. That's when this guy was born. All right. So we'll move on to the next one. So there wasn't really much going on. I mean, then when he was like 23, for some reason he made this post in here near Houston. It said, unless there's a different Robert E. Brashers. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's Brashers isn't a common name whatsoever. And it says, I will not be responsible for debts, contracts, let's see, and by anyone but myself. Robert E. Brashers. His name is Robert Eugene Brashers of 213 Stratton Ridge Road. And that was 1981. And that location is right over here. Okay, he just lived. I mean, it's kind of weird just seeing where this psycho lived at some point. Just kind of lived right there in that little, I don't know what do you call those, mobile home or whatever the hell they're called, manufactured house. Thanks, Cheryl Bullock. All right, now we got we're in 1985. All right, and this is kind of where it all started. Now there could be cases prior to this, we just aren't aware yet. I think it would be kind of interesting when we're all done with this to go through and do searches. So if you guys want to take notes in your handy dandy Gray Hughes Investigates notebooks that some of you have, then you know, maybe at the end we can sort of look for other cases that may be his, because I don't think they've even come close to finding all of his cases. A 27-year-old Lee County man is in St. Lucie County Jail today. This is in Florida. On charges of attempting to murder a Fort Pierce woman early Friday morning. Sheriff Robert Knowles said Robert Eugene Brashers, 27. Let me get, I think my phone's popping into here. Of Norfolk, Fort Myers, was charged with shooting Michelle Wilkerson, 24, of 110 Boston Avenue. So I guess we could put that in there. 110 Boston Avenue. And this is in, I guess, there it is, Fort Pierce, Florida, right there. so we can take a look at this place. This guy's like, he's a freaking monster. Well, it looks like, there's nothing there anymore. Let's see if you go back to, yeah, look at that. I mean, it looks like there's a structure there in 1994, and then it's gone. I don't know if that's water or what that is, but yeah, there's nothing there. So, I don't know if it was like, maybe this is an apartment complex right there. So, yeah, it looks like a church now, but anyways, we're in the right city. Okay, but let's just read these. These are crazy, absolutely nuts. I just kind of skim through, look at some of a little bit of it when I'm looking up all this stuff. A 27-year-old Lee County man is in the St. Lucie County Jail today on charges of attempting to murder a Fort Pierce woman early Friday morning. Sheriff Robert Knowles said Robert Eugene Brashers, 27, of North Fort Myers, was charged with shooting Michelle Wilkerson, 24, of 110 Boston Avenue after an altercation on a darkened road west of town. According to arrest affidavit and police reports, Brashers picked up Wilkerson on 5th Street near a bar and drove her 4.2 miles west of Fort Pierce near the Arapahoe Groves. Detective Oscar Farless gave this account of the incident. Brashers and Wilkerson, who met near a downtown Fort Pierce bar, consumed a six-pack of Budweiser beer and then started arguing about sex. A scuffle ensued in the cab of the brown pickup. Brashers said that Wilkerson grabbed his .25 caliber automatic, those are those really tiny little pistols, but he wrestled it away from her. Farless reported that Brashers then fired into Wilkerson's neck and head from 2 feet away. Wilkerson leaped from the truck and stumbled through a muddy ditch. Brashers pursued her, but she escaped. He drove off to South Beach, drove on to the beach, got out, waded out into the ocean until he was hip deep in the water, and then threw the gun into the sea. After disposing of the pistol, Brashers found he couldn't get his truck out of the sand. While Brashers drove away, Wilkerson stumbled to a house and asked the residents to call police. Deputies said they found her covered with mud and blood lying in the carport. Wilkerson was taken to Lawwood Regional Medical Center where she was treated and admitted. She was able to give detectives a description of the pickup truck and the contents inside the cab, including a pack of Marlboro cigarettes and a red shirt. Hey, by the way, you guys, we still need one more gifted membership up there to reach Marty's goal. This is what I'm talking about. I don't want to have to shepherd the things through. I just wish you guys would help support the channel and not have me say anything. It's just, I spent the whole day getting all of this stuff together, and that's what I do. That's my part of it. All right, let's see. Wilkerson was taken to Lawwood Regional Medical Center where he was treated and admitted. She was able to give detectives a description of the pickup truck and the contents inside the cab, including a pack of Marlboro cigarettes and a red shirt. Angela Darling found Brashers wandering along South A1A on South Beach asking for help in getting his truck out of the beach. So he actually went around and said, "Hey, can you help me get my truck out of here?" Deputy Darling thought Brashers matched the description broadcast for the gunman and called detectives. They then returned the pickup, which fit the description given by Wilkerson, including the cigarettes and shirt. And then this was pretty crazy because, hey, thanks so much there, Carol Silva. A 25-year-old woman shot twice in the head at a deserted citrus grove in rural St. Lucie County stumbled from her hiding place in a mud-filled culvert early Friday morning led lawmen to a suspect in the attack. The man accused of shooting Michelle Wilkerson, 27-year-old Robert Eugene Brashers of Fort Myers, was arrested by St. Lucie County Sheriff's detectives. Wilkerson shot once on the side of her left eye and once just below her right cheekbone. Was listed in serious condition Friday night at Lawnwood Regional Medical Center. She's very lucky to be alive, Kramer said. Brashers is accused of driving Wilkerson to the Old Spike Grove near the intersection of Shin and Okeechobee. Guess we could see where that is. Shin and Okeechobee. Right there. Isn't that crazy? And it says near the intersection of Shin and Okeechobee Roads, where he punched her several times and dragged her from her car, Kramer said. So where Brashers attacked Wilkerson, right? Yeah. All right. And then let's see what it says. Wilkerson, okay, so that's where she was attacked, and then where he punched her several times and dragged her from her car. Wilkerson managed to escape from her attacker after she was shot in the left side of the face with a small caliber handgun. So if you actually pay attention and watch this show and comment and interact, etc., you'll know the whole thing about this guy. And then maybe even be able to, we could look up other cases. This guy, I didn't realize, really. I kind of was just like, oh, cool, they solved the Yorgurt shop case. And then kind of saw that other case that he was connected to. But now that I've gone through this whole thing, man, he's just, he's a monster. So Wilkerson managed to escape from her attacker after she was shot in the left side of the face with a small caliber handgun. But the assailant tackled Wilkerson as she was attempting to flee and shot her again in the right side of the face, just below the cheekbone, Kramer said. Wilkerson, who Kramer said weighs about 90 pounds, managed again to escape by crawling into a 13-foot-long drainage culvert. Man, how scary would that have been while you're in that culvert? Because if he had found her in there, he just would have killed her in there and left her in there. Tire tracks, including some of the circular pattern, indicate Brashers apparently drove his car through the grove in a fruitless attempt to locate the woman following the attack. So he drove through the grove looking for her. I mean, this is right out of a horror movie. The evidence could you imagine? Because she could probably see these headlights busting through the grove, etc. Frantically trying to find her, Kramer said. The Fort Pierce woman remained hidden in the mud-filled culvert until she believed Brashers had left the deserted grove, Kramer said. If she'd lost consciousness, she would have... I guess we got to go to page 3. Probably drowned, I would imagine. She would have drowned, there you go, the detective said. Wilkerson, covered with mud, then stumbled from the culvert and managed to telephone the 911 emergency telephone number at a shack 3/10 of a mile from the culvert. God, it makes me want to go look for that. A shack. I wonder where the culvert would be. Yeah, let me, so this is sort of the general area. I bet if we go back to 1999, there you go. Oh, wow, look at the difference. These are all groves here, right? And then there is this water here. Let me see if there's anything. See, there's this water there. That's probably where the culvert, and the culvert would go under the road. And, I wonder if it's like right there. You know, I mean, there, it looks like if the water was lower, that's kind of how you would perhaps cross over to the other side. I'm not sure why that color's on the screen like that. See that? That might be the culvert. I don't know, because the culvert goes under a road, so I don't know. Yeah, I guess there's one right here too, you know? And then where would that shack have been that she's talking about? Maybe something like that. But could you imagine how freaky that would be, running around? And the car's driving around through the grove trying to find you, lights, headlights going all over the place, and you're just freaking out, hiding in a culvert. Jeez. Let's see. So emergency operators had to trace Wilkerson's call because the only description she could give of her location was west of Florida Turnpike. Sheriff deputies arrived at the scene about 2:45 within 9 minutes after Wilkerson called 911. To attract rescuers, she had turned on the headlights in a truck that had been abandoned near the shack. Wow. The mud covering Wilkerson was so thick when she was found that lawmen didn't know she was shot until she was taken to the hospital. Meanwhile, Sheriff Deputy Angela Darling found Brashers with his car stuck in the sand at Frederick Douglass Park on South Hutchinson Island. Let's see where that is. Frederick Douglass Park. Yeah, it's just right over here. So he went all the way out here. That's why, and then he threw the. That's interesting. So he came here, drove out, and then tossed it into the water. Made sure he was sort of, way out, even on. I didn't want to throw it in there. He got it out near the ocean. Vehicle stuck in the sand. All right. Now, Brasher, let's see. Meanwhile, Deputy Angela Darling found Brashers with his car stuck in the sand at Frederick Douglass Park on South Hutchinson Island. Darling, having heard a description of Wilkerson, assailant, and his vehicle from 911, picked up Brashers by agreeing to find someone to assist him in freeing his car. Brashers agreed to go with Deputy to find help. He was assuming he had killed the girl, and nobody knows, Kramer said. So he was acting cool. Darling drove Brashers to the South Bridge, where he was arrested on a charge of attempted first-degree murder. Sheriff deputies and detectives were waiting for him there. Brashers, in a statement to lawmen after his arrest, said he disposed of the gun he used to shoot Wilkerson by throwing it into the Atlantic Ocean. Brashers said he walked out into the surf and threw it into the ocean, so we may never recover it, he said. Brashers, on parole from New Orleans for burglary, is in the St. Lucie County Jail. No bond has been set Friday. Right, then there's another one on the 24th that just says attackers said that, he said he was the devil in this one. The man who allegedly beat and shot a Fort Pierce woman November 22nd in a remote section of western St. Lucie County told the woman he was the devil and came to kill her, a sheriff detective said Tuesday. After detectives interviewed the woman, Michelle Wilkerson, 25, of Boston Avenue, 4 charges were filed against Robert Eugene Brashers, 27, of Fort Myers, Detective Oscar Fairless said. Fairless, after talking with Miss Wilkerson and one of the doctors who aided her, contends that Brashers shot at Miss Wilkerson 3 times instead of twice as originally believed. She gave a full statement and said he shot her at least 3 times and told her he was the devil and was sent there to kill her. According to police reports, Miss Wilkerson was picked up by Brashers in a pickup truck early last Friday morning near downtown Fort Pierce. She was taken to a remote area off State Road 70 east of Shin Road where the two argued. Is that what we have over here? Yeah, there's 70. And that's Shin Road, right there. And they said east of it. I just miraculously put my pin east of it. Or is it really a miracle? Maybe I'm a psychic, you know? So, let's see. Remote area off State Road 70 east of Shin Road where the two argued. So that's Shin, east, and then let me go back again. Is that the culvert then? You know? I mean, hell, she might have been underneath that one. Possibly, you know? The two argued about sex, at which time Miss Wilkerson slapped Brashers in the face, deputies said. Brashers then allegedly beat Miss Wilkerson. Farley said the detective said Miss Wilkerson's jaw was broken and her left eye closed shut because of the alleged beating. He added that Miss Wilkerson may lose the use of that eye. Tuesday night, Miss Wilkerson was listed in fair condition. Farley said Miss Wilkerson was shot at least 2 times in the head, although none of the bullets lodged in her brain, or in her head. At once, and once in the back, I guess. So she was shot in the back and then 2 times in the head. Jeez. So probably after she was shot in the head, she ran and he shot again and hit her in the back, and then she got the hell out of there. Miss Wilkerson eluded Brashers by hiding in a culvert 18 inches in diameter. Wow. How would you fit into that? Brashers, so it must not be the culvert that I put on there. That's way bigger than 18 inches. Brashers was arrested hours after the incident on South Hutchinson Island Tuesday. He's got all these different charges. And then, let's see. And then right here it said, St. Lucie County deputies reported following arrest. Robert Eugene Brashers, 27, Fort Myers, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. So he was a felon, had the firearm, so that was a charge that they gave him at that point. And then there's a no contest plea entered in that shooting. So a Fort Myers man charged with shooting and beating a woman, and this is like a year later, right? So this is October 1986, and the event took place in November of 1985. But hey guys, any chance you guys could help support the channel? As you can see, without me saying anything, we hit these massive lulls. We're currently at we're just at $25, which is literally 1/12 of the nightly goal. I guess also with the coffee, I guess. But let's go, you guys. We can do it, man. We can do it. We don't always have to have the same people here supporting. We can get other people. Let's try to reach the goals going into the end of the month so we can make a difference. I just heard from Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick. Oh, here's what I heard from today, you guys. I heard from Texas EquiSearch, actually called me up. They have a new secretary, I don't know what you call her, but somebody working in the office. And she was like, it was amazing. She was saying how incredible it was. This is what she said. Good morning. In light of some recent staff changes, your request has just reached me in response. I asked how much have we given them over the years. According to our records, your total gifts to Texas EquiSearch are in the amount of $33,270. See, that's why when you bring in 25, it doesn't do anything. We got to get moving, you guys. We want to personally thank you for helping us make sure no family is ever left alone to search for their loved ones. In addition, your generosity has helped us make sure we never charge a family a penny for our services. Please let us know if you are ever in Houston area, etc. So, and then also she called me up on the phone. And I told him, watch out, man. The trolls will get a hold of you, because that's what they do. Absolute nut jobs. So she said that they're just like, wow, they're so amazed at what we've done over the years, compared to other people. She didn't compare, but, like we literally have made a huge difference, okay? So can you guys please help support the channel tonight? Thank you. So we got that. And then also heard from Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick. And again, 3 of our cases. One of them, the torso case, the one that I helped find the location of the body in the cemetery. They're sending that off for enrichment to try to, extract the human DNA amongst bacteria. Then there's another case, Party Girl, it's called. That one's moving along. And then they're also trying to still get the one in Vermont, the Vermont doe. Are you guys even here again? I mean, look you're doing the same thing again. Like nobody's chatting. It's ridiculous. Okay? Paulette Leonard said, thank you, Marty, for the coffee, like 10 minutes ago. So is this even interesting to you guys? I'll do something else. I'll dance like do some pirouettes, do something. I don't know how to entertain you guys. I'm just doing the shows. I'm going over the cases, and yet there's no comments. They're all thank yous to somebody else instead of actually talking about the case, So is there any chance you guys can actually engage and at least pretend that you're interested? Gives me a lot more energy. Anyways, if Brashers has been brought to trial, the jury may have had trouble identifying with the victim because of her lifestyle. So maybe she was a sex worker or something. I don't know. Michelle Wilkerson, 25, was able to flee after having been shot 3 times. Well, it turns out, let me just go to the next portion here. This was on October 15th. So we go all the way to November. And it says he got 12 years. So a judge sentenced Fort Myer man to 12 years in prison Monday for beating and shooting a woman he had picked up outside a Fort Pierce bar. Is this working, my chat? Even after I just said, hey, you guys, mods, we need more conversation going on, Is this just not interesting? I can do something else. God, it's frustrating. This is what I mean, man. If you're not talking about conspiracy theories or going over bullshit, nobody's interested. It's just, I'm getting so tired of it. I don't know, man. I spent the whole day trying to get it all pieced together, every case in order. And you come in here and people just sit there, stare at the screen. They come in, well, that's because you sound no, I sound the way I do because of that. All right? It's incredibly frustrating for me. Jesus, man, it's just ridiculous. Man gets 12 years. A judge sentenced Fort Myer man to 12 years in prison Monday for beating and shooting a woman he had picked up outside a Fort Pierce bar. Robert E. Brashers, 28, was sentenced by Lucy Circuit Judge Robert J. Smith for a charge of attempted second-degree murder. So this is 1986. If he had served 12 years, he would have been out in 98. That's when he would have been out. But he must have got out way earlier than that. I just don't understand that part. Because in 1988, which is just 2 years later, it's, Lexington, slain woman thought to be daughter of company, body found in burned business. Lexington police were searching for suspects last night after a charred body was found inside a burned hearing aid business on Malibu Drive. The victim was thought to be the missing daughter of the company's owner. Until an autopsy is performed today, police won't know for sure whether the homicide victim, 43-year-old Linda Rutledge, of Neil Drive. So this is one of his victims in 88. Or I guess this one actually is, oh, this is 98, sorry. Okay, good. That's the one that was bothering me. But there's another one. I mean, this isn't just the only one. Let me put this back in order here. I just noticed I have the wrong decade on that one. That's 98. So let me reshuffle these suckers. And all right, and the next one, 1990. So again, I mean, 86, 12 years. He should have been completely, still in prison for a long time. But here's a different one. Okay, so this is 1990, so just 4 years later. The discovery of the beaten body of a 28-year-old Greenville woman, and some of these were incredibly hard to find. They had just like one article somewhere. A Greenville woman in the bathtub of her East Side apartment Friday morning by maintenance men brought nearly a dozen detectives and 2 teams of evidence technicians to the scene. Officials believe Genevieve R. Zitricki died early Thursday morning in her home at Hidden Lake Apartments on Villa Road. So just remember Zitricki for later, okay? I mean, it's not, there's like one of those in the world. I've never seen that name. Her head was beaten, but officials declined to be specific about any further injuries. By late Friday, no murder weapon had been found, and coroner Charlie Garrett said he had not determined what killed her. The apartment is in disarray, I can tell you that, he said. The death of Miss Zitricki, an employee of the Michelin plant on Antioch Church Road, brought forensic teams from both Greenville County and the State Law Enforcement Division to the scene. Greenville police had no suspects, said Lieutenant Jerry Stargell. Miss Zitricki's clothed body. They're saying go to 9. What page is this? It said they go to 9, but I don't know. It looks like we're already on that. No, that's okay. There we go. So 17, 16. Ew. Yeah, this might not have it. Well, you could get lucky. There's 3A. It's on 9A. That's 5. And then it went to 13. So sometimes they just never end up scanning in the next pages. So we don't have that one. But we still have more on it. So here's another one. East Side woman death ruled homicide. The death of a 28-year-old Greenville woman found in the bathtub of her East Side apartment Friday morning had been ruled a homicide, Greenville County Deputy Coroner Mark Evans said Saturday. An autopsy on Saturday determined that Genevieve R. Zitricki of Hidden Lake Apartments on Villa Road died of trauma to the head approximately 24 to 36 hours before her body was found by maintenance men. No weapon has been found, and authorities continue to investigate. The building maintenance men found the clothed body of Miss Zitricki, an employee of the Michelin plant. Let's see. When they opened her apartment after concerned friends notified the apartment complex that she had not arrived for work. Friday, officials said. Then it says water was running in the bathtub, but not overflowing because it was draining out the overflow. Coroner Charles Garrett said Friday the apartment was in disarray. Evans said Miss Zitricki was divorced and that her ex-husband lives in Greenville. The rest of her family lives in Youngstown, Ohio, he said. Right then, on April 10th. Oh yeah, I'm just going to, this is the actual, where's her name here? Right there. So this is like a breakdown in here. On April 6, 1990, Jenny Zitricki was found murdered in her apartment. She lived by herself and was a computer programmer in the payroll department at Michelin North American headquarters. She was recently divorced and lived a very active lifestyle. She was involved in softball, taught at a local school, and lived in a young professional apartment complex. Jenny's apartment was broken into through the back door, and her cause of death was blunt force trauma. That's kind of like Bundy. On October 5th, 2018, Greenville Police Chief Ken Miller announced during a press conference the name of Zitricky's killer. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, I was just trying to put, putting all these together in order, all right? So then, 1991, he should still be in prison. But this is still about Zitricky. It says, Genevieve Zitricky was a party girl, a young divorcee, celebrating her newfound independence, in the single life on Greenville's east side. One night in April 1990, someone broke into her apartment off Pleasantburg Drive, beat her, and left her dead in the bathtub in a crime as brutal and baffling as any in recent Greenville history. Some crimes solve themselves. Some crimes are solved by police. And some crimes are like the murder of Jenny Zitricky. Jenny spent the last night of her life doing something she liked to do, having a drink with some friends. She was to be in a wedding on Saturday. Her dress, freshly dry cleaned, was draped on a chair in her living room, and some members of the wedding party were spending a Tuesday night together at an apartment nearby. She was 28 years old, a native of Youngstown, Ohio, and a computer programmer at the Michelin Tire Corp. Jenny was a pretty, dark-haired woman fighting a weight problem. Yeah, okay. These people, just who cares about her weight? You don't even have to throw it into the story. What you're really saying is she's really big, and you're trying to be nice. Why? Well, who cares, man? Just say she is a pretty, dark-haired woman, leaning against the wall. Beside her bed was an exercise trampoline, I guess. But what does that have to do with anything? She liked fishing, was devoted, her family, and loved the Cleveland Browns. Why would you put that in there? It's stupid. Jeez. About midnight, she left the gathering upstairs, walked home, and called a girlfriend. So she was at another apartment or another place where there was a party, and then she, walked home and called a girlfriend. They chatted for about 30 minutes, and Jenny went to bed. 2 days later, a maintenance worker found her brutally beaten body floating in the bathtub. The killer had put her there, positioning the body so that water from the spout ran between her legs. In the year, so this guy's a serial killer. I kind of thought he was some different type just by, listening about it. This guy is crazy. Just literally, like the pleasure of it for him. Hey, thanks so much there, Slenderella. Yeah, I think they've got, let's see. Yeah, there's you can see Benny for a minute right there. How about I'll leave that on the screen for a minute so you can look at it. In the year and a half that followed the maintenance workers' grisly discovery, police interviewed hundreds of people, fingerprinted more than 150, and sent out descriptions of the crime across the country. Her family offered a reward. So let's see. It says they go to 18A, and this next page is 16, so it should be just two more. Is this 18? No, it's 2B. Jeez. How about this one? Looks like another half is missing again. Oh, well. Yeah. So then that was on 1991, and then 12. This is the same case. 1991, 12/8. Well, no, it's a different. This is the yogurt shop killer. I thought so. That was the same year that article came out. 1 month after that article just came out again on the last victim. Let me get this out again. Let me go back. That's weird how they skip around. But yeah, Zitricky, like, see, look at that. November 3rd, 1991. Then on December 8th, you know, he probably saw that in the news and was like, ooh, yeah, I gotta get a fresh case out there. You know, now this is the yogurt shop murder, right? So this is 1991. But all those other ones that he did already, you know, the first one, she didn't die, but he shot her in the head. Then he kills Zitricky, and he hadn't been caught yet. So now he's out here, and he turns out to be the killer in this one, even though in this when I'm reading this, they don't know that. Austin police calling the killing of 4 teenage girls in a Northwest Austin yogurt shop among the worst they'd ever seen. The girls, each shot in the head and severely burned, were found early Saturday in the I Can't Believe It's yogurt store after firefighters extinguished a fire in the building. Police, who called the federal arson investigators because of their expertise, said the blaze had been set in an attempt to cover up the slangs. The victims were identified as Jennifer Habison, 17, and her 15-year-old sister, Sarah, Eliza Thomas, 17, and Amy Ayers, 13. Eliza Thomas and Jennifer Habison were employees of the store, which is located in a strip shopping mall. The other girls apparently were helping them close up Friday night, authorities said. Firefighters and police were shaken by the slangs, describing them as senseless and brutal. The first thing that comes to mind is crack cocaine. It appears they were closing and in the process of cleaning up. Huckabee said, I would say they were probably killed one after another. They appear to be where they were shot in the rear of the store. He said there was no evidence the victims were sexually assaulted. Autopsies by Travis County medical examiner Dr. Roberto Bayardo were not expected to be completed for several days. Buddy Harvey, the Austin-based vice president for the operations of Bryce Foods of Dallas, which owns the I Can't Believe It's yogurt chain, said the killings were the first in the firm's 15-year history. Yeah. And then we just go to the next one. Yeah, so actually I've had these and I've mapped it all out at one point. This is all the way over here. Hold on a second. Gotta get the north-south oriented. Okay, it's coming in, and yeah, I think it's in Austin. Yeah. So these are where all I have all the places where everybody lived. Let me get that turned off. So the Habisons lived right here in this house, and I'm sure it's still there. I'm sure it looks exactly the same. So that's where they lived, and they just went. I think the sister went to work to sort of help her sister out, and then she just got killed. She wasn't even supposed to be there. And then we've got, let's see, Eliza Thomas, one of the other victims. She lived right there. And she also worked at the yogurt shop. And then Amy Ayers, the fourth victim, or whatever order you want to put them in. But these are all four of their homes. She lived right there. And then the yogurt shop itself was, I think I remember figuring out exactly which one of these it was, and it was right there. In that, so he went to this strip mall there and killed those people. Hey, look at that. Marty said he'll do 25 in coffee if 3 of you gift a membership. That'd be awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so a 13-year-old. I mean, I guess the thing is yes, they were brutally killed in there, and then he set the place on fire to hide what he did. Okay. And then there was a lawsuit. Let's see, what's this one? A lawsuit prompted by the slaying of a woman on the east side. Yeah, so the woman that was killed, Zit Whitkey, thanks, Timothy. He actually sued the apartment complex. You know, because apparently this guy just got through the back sliding glass door, which is really seemingly common. I mean, it's incredible. Sliding glass doors, I don't think, are the safest things to have, to be honest with you. So Zitricky's estate is suing the Illinois-based owners of Hidden Lake Apartments. Okay, and the thing is she sued and then she didn't win. Okay, she didn't win. So that's just something I threw in there because it's part of the history of what was going on here. All right, then we have, let's see, what is this one? So I think that's him in this article in Arizona Republic, 1992. Enos Lovely Brashers, 69, of Glendale, a retired sales executive, died February 17th. And then it mentions the surviving sons, James L. Lovely, stepson Gary D. and Robert E. Brashers. One, was it Brashers or just Brashers? I don't know. 5 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. So there, I mean, it's just the time that he's mentioned in the paper. This guy is in the paper quite a bit. All right, so that was 92. And then it seems like there was a little bit of a lull in there, which I think that's where you search. You know, I know all about lulls, though, you know. So, like, you know, between 92 and 97, there's got to be other cases because this guy, you know, he's just continually doing stuff. So here's an interesting one, another one. And so that's the picture in the thumbnail. As you can see, sort of looks like it's a pretty good sketch. You know, it's not one that this person wasn't the same as Betsy Blair, who just sort of invented a face out of her mind, being 110 feet away. All right, guys, we need one more gifted membership up there to reach Marty's challenge. Having to shepherd it again. Man forces way into home, ties up 4, assaults a teenager. And this one was really hard to find because of they didn't use names, and it's just very difficult. And it was just like my last attempt. I got the right words in there, and then boom. The stranger at the front door claimed he had only a simple question. Had anyone seen his wife's missing purse? She'd left it on top of her car, he explained, and so he'd come searching the neighborhood for it. The woman who answered the door in the 4900 block of Boyce told him no, but when he asked to come inside to leave his name and address, they grew suspicious and tried to shut him out of the house. He forced his way inside anyways, Memphis police said, where he bound his victims, then sexually assaulted one of them Tuesday afternoon. The attack took place about 1 p.m. I mean, just right in the middle of the day. I mean, in the neighborhood near Summer and Mendenhall. Memphis Police Lieutenant Richard True said Wednesday 5 people were at the house. This is like that. What was the one that we talked about the other day? It was sort of similar. Remember that guy who would go into... Seemed like he'd go into the home and tie people up. It was a... That's right. It was like a serial rapist that we talked about. Remember that? 5 people were at the house. 4 were female, ages 14, 17, 20, and 47. And 9-month-old boy was in the residence too. When the man pushed his way through the door, he drew a large, dark, short-barreled, Western-style revolver, detectives said. He was also armed with a pocket knife. He bound his 4 female victims with yellow duct tape and forced some of them to the floor while unleashing a torrent of profanity. Then he sexually assaulted the 14-year-old girl. Police say he didn't actually. He said he didn't actually rape her. It says. I don't know what that means. If he sexually, maybe just a different way. Maybe they think that that's, I don't know. You guys can just think about it yourself. After, I don't want to use the words. After that, he became nervous. True said, very agitated. He demanded and received car keys from his victims. But hey guys, any chance you guys could help support the channel today? We're struggling mightily. We are currently at 1/7 or 1/8 of the nightly goal. So it's on B2. Is it right there? Maybe this home? Yeah. Okay, there it is. Aliens. I don't know. Oh, illegal aliens. All right, it says the culprit left in a 1996 Ford Crown Victoria, which police later found later in a nearby Kmart parking lot. We have recovered some evidence from the vehicle. The incident is not believed to be connected to a series of unsolved attacks that have occurred since December. See, I found those. There was like 6 or 7 other kids that were assaulted in the same town. Yeah, and this is in Tennessee now, this one. Not Texas or anything like that. The incident is not believed to be connected to a series of unsolved attacks that have occurred since December. That culprit is it was a young black man with distinctive gray spot in his unkept fade hairstyle. They didn't mention that in that article that I read. That rules out this guy. Monday's home intrusion attacker is a white man. He's slim, about 5'8", 140 pounds. His collar-length, dark brown hair is starting to go gray. He wears a well-trimmed mustache. It's gray. Man, he's only 29 years old. He probably made it look that way. He also wore a gray t-shirt, a maroon jacket, dark blue jeans, dark-colored tennis shoes. His sunglasses had silver wire frames. Anyone who knows how police can solve this case, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that was back then. All right, so now we're moving on. This is, let's see. So that was 1997, March 13th. Then 1998, March 31st is the next one. But you guys, we still haven't even reached Marty's challenge up there. Is there any chance you guys could do that? That's what I'm saying. Why do I just don't want to have to... Here's the thing, you guys. I'd love it if you guys would help support the channel, on a nightly basis without me interacting with it. Because it's just so frustrating for me. It's so different. I'm not doing anything different than I used to do on my shows. But it's so different in here, And I don't know what to do about it. It's like you guys just look at it and go, yeah, maybe next time. Yeah, see you later. Yeah. And we're not going to be able to make it. We're not going to be able to do all the stuff that we've been doing. We won't get the phone calls from Texas EquiSearch. It's just sucks. Hey, thanks, Shelley Pink. In the main intersection of, murder of a woman and a girl stuns Boot Hill town. So this is 1997, March 13th. About a year after that home invasion that we just talked about. In the main intersection of the Boot Hill town of Portageville sits a sign holding a large bow. Written in black marker all around the bow are the words why. The weekend murder of Sherry Ann Scherer, 37, and her daughter, Megan Elizabeth, 12, hit hard to Portageville. So far, no arrests have been made. Anthony Scherer discovered the bodies of his wife and what a nightmare, of his wife and daughter Saturday night at the family's home in rural Portageville. Scherer and his son were returning home, so at least he has imagine if that was all. I mean, it's horrible regardless, but if he didn't have anything like another sibling or something, man, what a absolute. He lost everything at that moment, but instead at least he has a son. We're returning home after completing farm work in nearby fields. Authorities have not said how the mother and daughter were killed, but Missouri Highway Patrol spokesman Brent Davis said robbery was not a motive. He reported no signs of forced entry to the home. More than 36 officers from several departments have been called in to help investigate the crime. Many of the town's 3,000 residents offered to help investigators, fixing meals, providing soda and coffee. Dr. David Boyd, a local dentist, helped cook chicken, blah, 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 blah. Hey, thanks, Molly. Wow, thanks so much. Epic fail. What do you mean? What'd I do? Anyways, thank you. So she was a great, she was a good basketball player, straight A student. Boyd's wife, the wife that got killed was a coach of basketball. They were a wonderful family, just totally destroyed their family. Sherry's life was caring for her family, said Tina. Man. So that was March 31st. I think there's one more. Maybe it has more crime detail. This small town in Missouri, Boot Hill, is mourning the death of a woman and her 12-year-old daughter who were found murdered in their home. Is it the same as the last one? Yeah, it's kind of a similar story. So I don't think that they kept continuing to cover this. I think I keep looking into the future on each one, so this could be now this is just something different. So this story here, so that just happened like March 31st with the newspaper articles, and this is April 14th. So literally exactly 2 weeks later, this is in the papers somewhere else. A 40-year-old Greene County man was arrested outside a Paragould residence early Sunday morning after the suspect had allegedly cut the telephone wire into the residence. I mean, listen to this. He cut the telephone wire into the residence and was attempting to burglarize the home, police said. Robert Brashers, 40, and that's the same age, so there's no E in there, but that's exactly the age he was going to be, and I mean, it all makes sense. At 5877 Green 853 Road. So I have that one. And he lived there in 1998. And look where he lived, just out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I think he moved all over the place. Like, look at this. Look where he lives in this one. Just absolutely, who the hell's going to find you there? That's just like in the middle of nowhere. This is where he lived, and he committed a lot of different crimes in this area right here. Hey, thanks, Molly. Look at that. Thanks for showing up there. 56 months by Candalee Woodward Stone. And thanks, Molly, for gifting the 5 memberships. Very cool. Nah, he wasn't a truck driver. He was married. I think he had kids and a wife. It's pretty crazy. You just don't hear about those in any of the articles. So Robert Brashers, 40, of 5877 Green 853 Road, Paragould, was arrested at about 4:30 near a residence on West Main Street, according to the police report. A neighbor was quoted as saying she heard her dogs barking and had gotten up to check on the dogs and saw Brashers attempting to force his way into the residence. Officers said they found Brashers hiding behind a vehicle at a neighbor's residence when they arrived. A .22 caliber revolver was found beside the victim's vehicle under her carpet, along with a pair of gloves and a duffel bag containing a video camera. A pair of wire cutters was found in Brasher's pocket, according to the police report. And it says, Police Lieutenant J.D. Stevenson said Brashers had worked at the victim's house last summer. Brashers was expected to be charged with being a felon, so he'd been there. So you could kind of throw that as like in the Nancy Guthrie case, This is a guy that worked on this particular home, and then he went back there. Brashers was expected to be charged with being a felon in possession of a firearm. So this is April 14th, just 2 weeks after he killed the shearer, Sherry Ann and her daughter. Okay, 2 weeks later, that's what he was doing. All right, then on May 22nd, so that would be, 5 weeks after that, man faces abuse charge. A Paragould man has been charged in Greene County Circuit Court with first-degree sexual abuse, according to documents filed Monday. Shad Allen Stokes, 22, of 6... Okay, that's a different one. I got to skip down to here. That's not his case. I remember going over this before. Also Monday, Robert Brashers, 40, of the same address we just talked about, 5877 Green 853 Road, was charged with attempted residential burglary, being a felon in possession of a firearm. So that might be the same case. So it's just 5 weeks later. In an affidavit attached to the criminal information, Paragould Police Detective Sergeant Todd Stovall states officers were called to... So now we can throw that in there just for... I like to look at the places. 715... Was it right here? Hold on. That's 715 West Main Street in Paragould. Yeah, there it is. Paragould, Arkansas. That's where he lived. So look how slow it's moving, because it's just right over here. And so I guess right there, attempted burglary. And let's go down and look at that. So just right there, look at that little tiny house. Kind of cool looking, I like that. But that's it. I'm sure that's exactly what it looked like back then. Also Monday, so we already did that. In an affidavit attached to the criminal information, Paragould Police Detective Sergeant Todd Stovall states officers were called to 715 West Main Street on April 12th by an individual who reported seeing a man trying to get into a residence. When officers arrived, they found Brashers squatting down beside the driver's side of the vehicle, Stovall said, adding Brashers appeared... So that is the April 12th. That article was April 14th. So these are the same incident. He also had a pair of wire cutters in his back pocket and was carrying a video camera. Isn't that creepy? So Brashers had a video camera on her. Was he literally going to film what he was doing? And by the way, did he do that? And then nobody's just found his videos? I mean, what was he doing carrying a video camera in a duffel bag. So he was going to bring it in there, and he was going to do whatever he was going to be doing, and maybe start filming stuff. Who are you talking to, Lisa? I know you just opened up Wikipedia there. I'm not sure. Did somebody ask where is all these taking place? Wow, what? I'm not sure where you guys are at. Oh, you guys are way behind again. Yeah, so the camera is... Yeah, that's pretty weird that he has a video camera, right? The area around the vehicle was searched, Stovall said, and a loaded .22 caliber revolver and a pair of gloves were found. The resident's phone line had been cut, so he wanted to get in there and he was going to film it. Alejandro Panto, that's a different one now. All right, so I think we're right to there was his case. All right, so that was on May 22nd, and then May 28th, 1998. A Greene County man has been charged with connection with an attempted burglary of a single... This is the same one. Brashers was arrested outside the woman's residence. Okay, so he's facing charges. And so that was May 28, 1988. Now we're on August 18th, so 3 months later. Like, look at this. What the hell is this one? A Greene County man was arrested by local police following a bizarre incident that resulted in alleged lies, property damage, and theft. Robert E. Brashers, 40, same address again, of 5877 Greene, 853 Road. Why is he walking around, though? That's what I don't really get. Why is he moving around? He's done so many bad things, and he's out. So he was being held Monday in the county jail on pending charges of residential burglary, leaving the scene of an accident with the property damage, public intoxication, and second-degree criminal impersonation. The chain of events leading to Brashers' arrest began around 2:30 p.m. Sunday. I mean, why does he need to be arrested? He should have been in prison. When Deputy Max Adams was dispatched to a flea market on U.S. Highway 412, said investigator Brian Osborne. The dispatcher had received a report about a man in a blue van who was driving erratically through the area. The suspect allegedly crashed through a fence and tore up the yard of Christ United Methodist Church, Osborne said, adding that the driver proceeded to hit a parked van outside the nearby flea market. Several Paragould police officers were on the scene when Adams arrived, but the blue van was nowhere to be found, Osborne said. At that point, Osborne also arrived on the scene and began questioning neighbors who described the vehicle in question. Later, more evidence was gathered when a motorist flagged down Deputy Sergeant Tom Simpson. The person told Simpson he had given a man with an injury a ride to Highway 412, Osborne noted. As Simpson went to the location, the motorist described he found the injured man but had no reason to believe he was a suspect the other deputies were looking for, Osborne said. The man was indeed injured, so other officers, including State Trooper Corporal Benny Cox, responded. He told us he was working on his Jeep Cherokee and the drive shaft fell out and hit him, the investigator said. He said his vehicle was stuck on the levee in the Big Slough area. But when deputies followed the man's directions, there was no vehicle. So as the man who allegedly was Brashers using the alias Bill Blackston, so he used an alias, was transported by ambulance to Arkansas Methodist Hospital for treatment. Deputies paid a visit to his residence. When they approached the residence, they noticed the back door was open. Looking inside, they found blood in the kitchen area and bathroom area of the house and some knives laying around. Deputies also searched a soybean field north of the house where they found a blue van matching the description from the afternoon's incident. The vehicle was lodged in a ditch and had blood in the driver's seat area, Osborne said, adding it became apparent that at that point that Blackston was Brashers. It also turned out that Brashers' neighbor, Barry Floyd of 5851 Green, 853 Road, had been a victim of theft. Several items, including cash and jewelry, were taken from the house, Osborne said. I bet you that's that other... I mean, isn't there two home... Like, there's this one and this one. So I'm pretty sure. What was the address they just gave? 5851. You can see it right there. So that's the neighbor he stole from, too. All right, guys. Any chance you guys could help support the channel? Massive lol again. Massive lol. We need somebody to do another challenge in there. Right, so that was August 18th. And then just less than 3 months later again, body found in burned business. Lexington police were searching, and see, here's the fire angle again. Lexington police were searching for suspects last night after a charred body was found inside a burned hearing aid business on Malibu Drive. The victim was thought to be, and this is Malibu in Lexington, Kentucky, Malibu Drive. The victim was thought to be missing daughter of the company's owner. So there's a hearing aid company. The daughter would work there. Until an autopsy is performed today, police won't know for sure whether the homicide victim is 43-year-old Linda Rutledge of Neal Drive, said Sergeant Mark Barnard. But as of 11:30 last night, police had not found Rutledge. After searching all day for her black four-door 1996 Pontiac Grand Am, police found it abandoned shortly before 10 p.m. in the rear of an apartment building at 137 Malibu Drive. Where's that? Any chance you guys could do a challenge? Is this in... supposed to be in Lexington. Yeah, Lexington, Kentucky, it says. Malibu Drive. There it is. Yeah. Oh, interesting. So I mean, there's the this is the address of the hearing aid place. I already had that in there, and then, but the vehicle was over here though. Why would he just move it so little? That's weird. I don't know. I'm not even gonna put a pin on that. That's weird though. Why would you put the? I mean, maybe she parked there, I guess. But it just seems weird. Why would you move it to there? All right. Rutledge shows behind the building at 137. Abandoned shortly before 10. I found it abandoned. but it's in almost the same location. Rutledge family had reported the car stolen after the body was found. Barnard said that finding the car did not lead to any suspects. The fire was discovered yesterday at 7:30 a.m. at Nixon Hearing Aid at 121 Malibu Drive by a passing driver, Barnard said. Barnard said he couldn't immediately determine whether the dead woman had been shot, stabbed, or beaten, but he said she had injuries unrelated to the fire. Rutledge, who is divorced and has a son, was supposed to have opened the store yesterday morning, Bernard said. Her parents, George and Velma Nixon of Winchester, own the business. Rutledge was reportedly last seen at 9 p.m. Friday at Mr. B's, a bar and restaurant. Barnard said he couldn't tell whether a robbery had occurred at the hearing aid center. A robbery was reported at the business a few years ago, he said. Barnard was trying to determine last night whether Rutledge had been having problems with anyone recently. It was not immediately clear how the suspected arson was carried out. Yesterday's case was Lexington's 20th homicide in 1998. And yeah. And then this one said, coroner rules woman didn't die from the fire. So they were still trying to figure that out. Homicide detectives were, says, the charred remains of the mother of one were discovered Saturday inside her parents' burned out hearing aid business. But she didn't die from the fire, they said. And that was 1998. November 10th, and now we're on January 14th, 1999, which is literally just 2 months later again. It seems like he's enjoying being in the paper. But look at this. An Arkansas man is dead following a 4-hour standoff with police at a motel in southeast Missouri early Wednesday. Officers checking on a car with a stolen license plate went to the motel until a unit occupied by Robert Brashers, 40, of Paragould, Arkansas, and his family. Authorities said Brasher's wife told them he was not there, but officers saw him hiding under a bed. Right. So he sort of he was using his family as, holding him as hostage. They said Brashers placed a pistol to his head and said he would shoot himself if the officers did not leave. The officers left the room, and then, the officers said Brasher's wife told them he was not there, but officers saw him hiding under a bed. They said Brashers placed a pistol to his head and said he would shoot himself if the officers did not leave. The officers left the room and then contacted Brashers by telephone, convincing him to allow his wife and 3 children to leave the room. Police continued to negotiate with Brashers by telephone, but then they heard a single gunshot at about 4:30 this morning. Brashers was found on the floor of the room with a gunshot wound to his head. He died later at the hospital. Authorities said Brashers was wanted for federal weapons violations. And then the next day, it's like something similar. This is his obituary. He literally, somebody thought, hey, let's do an obituary for this nut job. Robert Eugene Brashers, 40, of Paragould, died Wednesday, January 13th, 1999. He was born March 13th, 1958, which we showed. Here we go. Let's go back to that really quick. Right there. Mr. and Mrs. D.W. Brashers, 635 Homestead Avenue, Hampton. On the birth of a son in Riverside Hospital, Thursday, March 13th, 1958. He was born March 13th, 1958, in Newport News, Virginia. He was a carpenter. He was, Isn't that weird how that's another profession that some of these people do? I mean, that's what. Who's that one guy, the famous one? The one that's famous for the kill kits. My brain just went blank. You know, he flew all around the place, buried the kill kits, you know. But man, what's up with the massive lulls again in here? And thanks, Marty, for the coffees in there. Appreciate that. Yeah, Israel Keys, that's what I was looking for. Yeah. So he was a carpenter. Hey, wow, thank you. Anna, the paleontologist again. Wow, thank you so much. He was preceded in death by his mother, Nellie, a brother, Dulus Jr., and a sister. Kind of makes you want to go look at those. How'd they die? Survivors, I mean, he's only 40, so how would those people die? It seems like they'd be kind of young, you know? Survivors include his wife, Rose Brasher of Paragould, 4 daughters. Say, look at that. Survivors include his wife. He had a wife, you guys. I mean, we just heard about that in the last one. He has 4 daughters. Deborah, Angela, April. So it's like, let's see, daughters. Deborah, Angela, April, it just says 3. I thought it only said 3 daughters on the last article, but they said 4. Oh, I guess, and Tiffany Schulzer of Huntsville, so he must have a kid with somebody else. His father, Woody Brashers of Paragould, and a brother, Gary Brashers of Huntsville, Alabama. Graveside service will be at 10 a.m. Saturday. Boy, let everybody show up to that one, huh? All right. And where are we at over here? That was... Is that this one? Yeah. All right. So then, you know, that's it. You know, I mean, so you got to picture it like this. Everything that we just talked about, Brashers was not a suspect of any kind in any of those things that we just talked about. And then we have this sort of interesting article here in 2006. It said, forensic evidence from a 16-year-old killing here may be connected to 2 other unsolved cases, Greenville police said Friday. The break came in the 1990 strangulation of 28-year-old Genevieve Zitricki, remember that one? In her Greenville apartment. DNA evidence collected at the scene was put into a national database and connected to a double homicide 8 years later in Portageville, Missouri. And I think that's the mother and daughter. And then in that case already had been connected to an attempted carjacking just hours later in Dyersburg, Tennessee. Right. So there are 2 cases on that date. Like, for example, if you look at this right here, this is in Wikipedia here. Here it is. Megan Scherer and Sherry Scherer were killed on March 28, 1998. However, on the same date, there's an unnamed female in Dyersburg, Tennessee, and it was an attempted assault, right? So that's the only one I couldn't find an article on, right? But they're referring to it right here. They said DNA evidence collected at the scene was, so they probably found semen, actually, because he sexually assaulted these people. In the Scherer case, was put into a national database and connected to a double homicide 8 years later. So that means Zitricki had semen probably. Then they also had semen in the double killing of the Scherers. And then that one unnamed one that said DNA evidence collected at the scene was put into a national database and connected to a double homicide. That's 3 cases, three people connected. I mean, 2 cases, but 3 individuals connected to the same killer somewhere. And then 8 years later in Porchville, Missouri, Greenville Lieutenant Mike Gamble sitting says that case, though, had already been connected to an attempted carjacking just hours later in Dyersburg, Tennessee. So that means after he killed the Schurz, he tried to do it again and like hijacked another vehicle and tried to do something to that person. Police released a composite sketch and description of a suspect in the Missouri case. Investigators are looking for a white man, aged 30 to 50, which is pretty amazing because he was 40, with graying hair and mustache. And it's weird how they keep saying graying hair, you know. I mean, at 40, I knew people that had graying hair at that age, but anyways, that's pretty wild, isn't it? So this article here, they still don't know who the killer is. However, they have connected 3 cases, 4 victims, to a single person. All right, then we go to 2017. And we have DNA match offers hope. A new clue has emerged in the killing of a woman and her daughters. This is the Schurz, 20 years after their deaths. The bodies of a 37-year-old Sherry Schur and 12-year-old Megan Schur were found inside their home near Portageville in March 1998. No arrests were made. New Madrid County Sheriff Terry Stevens was notified this month that DNA from the murder scene matches DNA recovered from an unsolved 1997 rape in Memphis, Tennessee. See, that's wild. That's the, let's see. That is this one right here. Look. Man forces his way in the home and ties up 4 and assaults the teenager. See that 14-year-old? This person right here assaulted, and that's him, right? I mean, look at that picture right there is a pretty good sketch, you know? It's like, that's what his mustache looks like, part in the middle, you know? It's not the greatest in the world, but definitely represents, you know, you can see that could be him if you put glasses on him. But that's what they're talking about. So now they've connected this case. Isn't that wild? So we're going back in time, but none of this could have been connected before. Like, you couldn't have gone, oh, wow, I wonder if that one's connected to... Although the Schur case, I guess it is sort of interesting because the police must have known at that time, because we've already got 3 cases that were connected. Now there's a 4th, and the Schurs were already part of that other 3. So that means there's a 4th now. Now we have this assault here of a 14-year-old. That's what they're referring to in the 1997 case. It was the 2nd DNA match to the Missouri case. A 2006 DNA match determined that the same person may have sexually assaulted and killed Genevieve Zitricki in 1990 in Greenville, South Carolina. I almost feel like I got to open up that last one again. What was the 2006? There was another case, wasn't there? Collected at the scene, was put into a national database and connected to a double homicide. Right. So it's not just, they kind of got that wrong, the way they talked about that. So you have Genevieve Zitricki, the Schurs, and the person he tried to carjack or assault later that day. That's 3 cases right there. Then we move over to 2017, and now we have it connected to the 1997 sexual assault where he tied up the whole family. So now there's 4 cases connected. This guy is absolutely like a serial killer, serial rape. I mean, he's just he's a monster. I think there's a hell of a lot more cases out there. He just didn't get caught in those. Except, I guess one thing you might say is if he was that careless, wouldn't he have always been careless? And there should be more DNA matches if they had collected it correctly. He could have had some more in the 80s, like 85, 86, early 90s before DNA was really a big deal and people weren't really collecting that. All right. Well, we got to 50% of the goal. So if you guys are out there and you have the ability to help support the channel, that would be great. We're coming up to donation night. We're on the 28th. We've already given $500 out this month so far. We're on the 28th though. We have the 29th and 30th, and then the 31st is our night. So hopefully we have trying to have good nights all the way through, try to make something happen, but this is our record lowest month in 7 years, which is kind of like, why? I mean, what the hell? It's crazy. Maybe there was some early years that it's at least the last 3 for sure. Let's see. Stephen says investigators from all 3 cases are working together. So there's actually 4 and have developed new leads. And then we go to 2018. Memphis police solve 1997 rape case linked to dead murder suspect. Investigators have solved a 1997 Memphis rape case and the deceased suspect Robert Eugene Brashers. So that 1997 one is the 14-year-old. The case, and that necessarily then solves all the other ones that were right there. The case involved one Memphis, thousands of untested rape kits, and a series of crimes in Tennessee, South Carolina, and Missouri. Brashers died in a hospital from a self-inflicted gunshot wound in January 19, 1999, 6 days after an encounter with police. Memphis Police Deputy Director Mike Ryle, he probably just survived on life support in there, that Brashers was a very violent individual. In April 1990, a 28-year-old woman, Genevieve Zitricki, was found dead in Greenville, South Carolina. In March 1997, a 14-year-old Memphis girl was sexually assaulted in her home. An intruder came to the door, said he was looking for something in the neighborhood, a purse, we found out, and his wife's purse, and forced his way into the home. He tied up 4 people and sexually assaulted the 14-year-old. A composite sketch was released. So that's the sketch in a composite of the possible Zitricki murder. So that guy also has a mustache. I don't think that's as good as the other one, though. See, Lisa typed in, Mama, you talking about Gacy 5 minutes ago. Yeah, we got to get more talkative in here. When you guys are communicating and conversing, that helps the algorithm out. Did you notice that after I said, hey, you guys, can you talk? We ended up having more people. It's never a great crowd, though. 130 people is absolutely terrible on YouTube. And, I can be honest about that. I can't do anything about it, man. I just do the shows, and if people don't show up, they don't show up. In 1998, Sherry and Megan Schur were found shot to death in a small Missouri town of Portageville. About 2.5 hours later, in Dyersburg, Tennessee, a man tried to break into a house. A woman fought him off and shut the door, but he shot through the door and struck her in the arm. She lived, and another composite was made. Memphis police detective Stephen Shepard said that, which one was that one? About 2.5 hours later in Dyersburg, Tennessee, a man tried to break into a house. I thought it was a car. A woman fought him off and shut the door, but he shot through the door, and I wonder how they got DNA out of that one. Memphis police detective Stephen Shepard said that in 2016, the sexual assault kit from the 1997 Memphis case, the 14-year-old, was submitted for DNA testing funding by a grant. And so what's weird is that's prior to IgG, that's more like Parabon, 2016. DNA testing, it would just put it in the database and compare it to other samples. The DNA was then entered into the FBI database. Then Memphis Police Director Tony Armstrong disclosed in 2013 that more than 12,000 rape kits needed to be tested. Authorities have worked to test the kits, and in a report in August 1995, had completed the analysis. 3% were at labs waiting results, and 2% were with outside agencies. A lot of hard work was done over the years. So anyways, in this situation, they've connected basically 4 cases. And they have Brasher's name. And they must have got his name. They did genealogy. Well, this is 2018. I guess they could have done that. How did they get his name? So maybe they took his DNA and just put it in the system and it matched. Right? And so that was 2018. And then we go to right here. Robert Eugene Brashers, the suspect in Austin's 1991 yogurt shop murders, has been linked to a Kentucky woman's murder that occurred nearly 27 years ago, according to Lexington Police Department. Brashers was named as a suspect in the killing of Linda Marie Rutledge. And did we do that one? I thought did we skip that one? When was that? November 7th, 1998. Now, wasn't she the one that worked at her, November, isn't that the one that worked at the, what was that, some kind of a shop for her parents? Yeah. A hearing aid shop, yeah. So he was linked to that case. See, isn't that crazy? But see, the thing is his DNA should have immediately linked into the other cases, like right out of the chute. Yeah, so it was that hearing aid center in Lexington on November 7th, 1998. The police department said firefighters discovered her body in a back hallway after responding. So twice, he burned down the yogurt shop and this one. He tried to burn the building to remove his evidence. Him being there. The breakthrough came in July of 2025 when Austin police contacted Lexington detectives after receiving a match from the National Integrated Ballistics Information Network. A .380 shell casing discovered from the Kentucky crime scene matched one found in Austin after the December 1991 yogurt shop killings. So that's interesting, right? So that means they must have given his gun back. That's what Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick was talking about with me. So they must have given him his gun back to have it. Like how did he have the same gun later? Because he'd been arrested. Or let's see, because it was 90, I guess it was 98. I guess, had he been arrested in between 91 and 98? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it. The Kentucky State Police Forensic Lab confirmed the shell casings from the same firearm. DNA evidence from a sexual assault kit taken from Rutledge also matched the profile from the Austin case. Right. But then wouldn't you already have it in the system to know that it matched the other 4? Brashers died by suicide during a police standoff in January of 1999. His DNA has been linked to multiple crimes, across several states between 1990 and 1998, including a killing in South Carolina, a rape in Memphis, and a double murder in Missouri. Her life was cut short in just 43 years old, and her family had to live with the pain of losing her and not knowing who took her life, Lexington police said. While her case may be solved, it does not bring Linda back, but we hope that by knowing who killed her, her loved ones can begin to heal. Isn't that crazy? There you go. So I mean, I think there's more. You know, I think there's more to come here. Like that one just got solved, right? And you know what's weird is I think I covered Rutledge case. I found it in here by itself. Like we literally talked about it regarding something else. I think in 2021, which is sort of interesting. Anyways, what do you guys think of that? I thought that was pretty good, pretty interesting. So how about supporting the channel tonight, you guys? We're still just sitting here at not even 50%, or maybe 60% total. That would be great. Well, he just moved around. Carpenters can move around. What do you mean travel a lot for a carpenter? Those are the kind of jobs where they move all the time. They go where the work is, you know. Probably work on homes. They gotta. I don't understand that one. Yeah, I'm sure. But there's so many. That's exactly why you've got. If I was the president of the United States, I would give $1 billion to testing backlog of sexual assault kits, because there are serial rapists inside of those, and they might solve a lot of other cases out there. Hello. So he lived in, well, let's open that up. You know what you could do is you can add multiple. Florida. And then South Carolina. Texas. Tennessee. Missouri. Yeah, I'm pretty good with maps. Went right over to it. And Kentucky, yep, got that one. And I don't know, wasn't there something in Arkansas? I don't know, I think it'd be worthwhile to, like, this whole thing. You know? I feel like, you know, and right there, I would say, like, in that area right there, you know, they may have missed some spots. But you could say, you know, so he died in 1999, so if you just go like 1980, I would say 84, he was born in, you could do more before that, like 83, 82 maybe, to, and where was he born again? Let me add that in there. Virginia. Yeah, I got that one too. Man, yeah. Yeah, I just got to throw that one in there then. So this area right here seems like might be a place for his stomping grounds. I would just kind of leave it there. I know you could start adding everything, but Missouri is one of them. All right, guys, how do we get something going here? We need to get the support for the channel up tonight and try to get to the goal. We're currently probably at like 60%, I guess. If you add in the coffees, 65 maybe. Nah. I don't know what you're talking about. That's just so generic, Shelky. Did you see the case that's on trial now with the shop owner shooting the boy? I don't know. I mean the one in New York where he was defending himself? That one? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I just, there doesn't seem to be any cases that anybody are really interested in right now. That everybody's like, oh yeah, and they're running over to go watch it. There's nothing. It's just, doing shows and hoping to God somebody watches. That's about it. 1982 to 1999. And then, let's see. What would we type in here? Are you guys watching something on television, or? I mean, it's like nobody's chatting again. We just talked about this 5 minutes ago. Let's see. I don't know. Something like yeah. Oh well. Guess I'm not really that interested in it, Shelky. It's like to take the trials just take up. I'll do like when the Tyler Robinson trial goes, I'll cover that one because that's something I've done. But I'll just ask one last time. Can you guys please help support the channel tonight so that we can try to reach the goal moving into the final part of the month? I'd really appreciate it. I don't know what else to say. I do the shows. You guys support the channel. That's how we've been doing it. That's how we've donated $295,000. That supports the channel, supports the charities and stuff that we do, and it does everything. So if you have the ability, that would be fantastic. If you can't afford it, do not send anything in. Trying to think of words in here. Yeah, what's this one? This one's in Longview, Texas. It began last September when a woman in a West Longview neighborhood told police she had been raped. Later the same month, a man of a similar description as in the first case attempted to rape another woman in the same general vicinity. Police think what followed in the subsequent 10 months may have been the work of just one man who was possible exception. The toll the women raped and 5 threatened with it. The victims cannot be described alike. Their ages range from 19 to 72. Wow. They have been white and black. They were single, married, living with parents. About the only thing the victims had in common was that they all lived in the same neighborhood. In some cases, the suspect cut telephone line. Well, he did that in that one case. Or he removed a window screen or removed a window pane. In some instances, it was not known how he got inside. Police believe the suspect has knowledge of the homes in the area. Well, he does do carpentry. That he watches and observes. And if it turns out, they say at the end that he's, doesn't look like him, then it's not him. During the first part of July, extra police personnel, this is 1982, so this would be when he would be 23 years old. And see, none of these are murders. So maybe this is, he evolved, if this is that him, right? Here's a chronology listed by Chief of Police James McLaughlin. September 14th, a rape. September 29th, attempted. February 9th, attempted. April 7th, an actual. June 15th, attempted. June 25th, attempted. July 13th, attempted. July 17th, attempted. The incident, July 13th, involved a man with a beard whose description did not fit that of the suspect in the other cases. In September of 1981, the chief said there was a rape and one attempted rape in the area. The department put a stakeout to no avail. He said special service detectives were used on numerous occasions. McLaughlin said officers have conducted several rape prevention seminars in the last 18 months, and department personnel have been instrumental in helping. Not really sure how to. I mean, these are in those states that I was talking about. Anyways, you guys, I'm gonna take off. Whenever you get to the point where nobody's chatting, and I've asked people to chat, then it's like it's time to get moving. So, anyways, you guys, we didn't make it again, but I appreciate Marty for the coffees. That was very cool, and thank you to. Let's see, what do we got? We got Jessica Schubach, Cheryl Bullock, Wild Bill Wassman, Carol Silva, Slenderella Charming, good to see you again, Timothy Cecil, Wild Bill Wassman, Shelley Pink, Molly again, Candalee Woodward Stone, and then Anna Paleontologist. Thanks, everybody.